Welcome to the Amateur Renaissance Man podcast, Winging It with Matt and Dave. I am Dave, and the other fellow there is Matt.
I'm Matt.
Hey,
How
Matt.
you doing? Hi, Dave.
I'm good.
I didn't ask you how you were doing.
All right, we'll talk. So that's it for tonight's podcast.
Thank
Join
you.
us next week.
Thanks for coming. I got a text from my wife saying, "Is there any way you can turn down the volume? Sounds like you're shouting."
Oh, Jesus. It's a little whisper.
Yeah. Today's the day that Michael Cohen publicly testified in Congress. I watched almost the whole thing while I was working. I had it on the side. You know, it was pretty much what you expected. I know you didn't get a chance to see it. I thought that he came across as pretty sincere.
It's really, do you believe him or not?
And I believe him.
I kind of believe him as well, but I don't know about Joe Sixpack believing him. You know, unfortunately, it's a pretty tall order to say, you know, I lied to you, but trust me, I'm not lying to you now.
Well, think about it this way. He would get more jail time if he got caught lying again. He doesn't want more jail time. He's going to jail for 3 years, going to be away from his wife and his 2 kids. Nobody wants to be in jail for longer. And what would be his reason to lie again about Trump? How would he be protecting himself by lying this second time? What would his motivation be?
Good
to take
question.
down Trump suddenly? I mean,
the Republican line is and will continue to be, he serves his 3 years and he gets out in a year and a half.
writes a book,
and
makes
then
a
he
bunch
writes
of
his
money.
book and he gets millions.
Right.
You know, my question is, did anything of interest and import come out? Yes, there was that check for $35,000. We all knew that was there. The idea was the checks for $35,000, so it didn't say the $200,000. It looked like it could have been a retainer payment. It doesn't say in the memo, for Stormy Daniels' boobs disappearing from my history. You know, I mean, if it had something like that in it, it would have been a smoking gun. I don't think any smoking guns came out.
Moving on. Sous vide. Our next topic.
Sous vide, parlez-vous français? And it's a cooking technique that I had read a little bit about, and I was interested in it. And then when I found on a site called woot.com, that's WOOT.com. I used to fucking buy stuff on Woot all the time, to my ex-wife's chagrin. But then Amazon bought it. Anything cool online, Amazon buys. Happened to Zappos, happened to Woot. Long story short, I still get
It might happen to amateurrenaissanceman.net.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it will. But anyway, what is Sous Vide? It's basically cooking food in vacuum sealed containers in hot water. And it's not just boiling water. It is water that is to a precise temperature. So it's a little plastic tower that goes into a big, 12-quart pail. And then in that pail you have your shrink-wrapped beef, your vegetables, your starch, everything's in there. And you set it to a precise temperature, like maybe 57 degrees Celsius. You could do the math. It's quite hot. Don't want to put your hand in there. And it will circulate this water at exactly that temperature for 2 hours. So you got to kind of think of it as a slow cooker. You're not going to get done in 30 minutes and eat. And the way I explain it is smoking a meat is surrounding it constantly with hot air at a certain temperature. And that's called smoking it. Sous vide
No, it's
is
not
doing the
just
same thing.
surrounding
but
with
all the
hot
food's
air
in
at a certain temperature. That's called baking. Convection baking. Smoking it is actually having little tiny particles of smoke get into the meat to give it that smoky flavor.
All right, but it cooks because the air is hot, you son of a sous vide. Anyway, it's like that, but it's hot water instead of hot air. And the great thing is, if you cook like a really nice piece of meat on the grill, and if you got a nice piece of meat, what should that meat be, amateur Renaissance men? Rare, right? You don't want an overcooked piece of meat. But on the grill, it's really, it's charred on the outside. It's rare for like the first centimeter or two. And then usually it's absolutely raw. And though that can be good, it's not cooked. It's raw. And with Sous Vide, you can have that little centimeter of pink, rare throughout your whole piece of meat.
It sounds like a huge pain in the ass. You got to sit there and wait 2 hours for the thing to be made?
You don't look at it. In your case, you're going to go in the bathroom, take a dump, whack off, and whatever you do in 2 hours, and you come back and it's done. I mean, it's not rocket surgery. A watched Sous Vide pot doesn't Sous Vide.
Why didn't anybody else ever think of boiling food in water before? It's an amazing idea.
Okay, are you done?
Yes.
It's about precise temperatures over prolonged periods.
Moving on.
I had the cable.
Plug it into the holes. Remember Slippery Pete
yeah.
from Seinfeld?
This is the front door, and this is the outlet.
What's that?
The outlet? That's where the electricity comes out of.
Oh, you mean the holes?
Where's Gil when you need him? Time for a commercial, folks.
From the land of sky blue waters comes the water best for brewing. Hams are very refreshing. Hams are very refreshing.
And we're back. You know that commercial, We Are Farmers, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 that has J.K. Simmons in all of them? Yeah, he says, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We've seen a thing or two. Right?
Yeah. So when he says we know a thing or two and we've seen a thing or two, did he work as an insurance guy for that company?
Are you fucking nuts? He's just he's an actor.
That was the bit right there. Can he really say that though? Can a person say we know? He's not part of Farmers Insurance. I guess he is an employee.
So let me bring it closer to home, man. I live in Wisconsin, the home of the mighty Green Bay Packers. And there is the, long story short, Aaron Rodgers gets down there with a suit and he's like, we are driven.
We are driven to deliver quality cars and trucks. We are driven to deliver a difference.
We are Bergstrom Automotive.
We are Bergstrom Automotive.
We? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're not. You don't work at that automotive company. You're a quarterback. You're getting along.
Do you remember the Ernie von Schladehorn?
Who do you know wants to buy or lease a car or a truck?
Do you remember that song?
Ernie von Schladehorn, Main Street in the
Okay, now, seeing as how I'm going to cut the whole Sous Vide thing out, why don't you take another subject?
Oh, you're killing me. All right. So my subject is the importance of artificial intelligence. I'm telling you, Matt, if your representatives aren't asking questions about artificial intelligence, they're missing the boat. In fact, I'm going to boil it down for you. There are two topics that your representatives need to worry about. One is the environment. Number two, just behind it, is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence started out as a computer trying to beat Kasparov in chess. Now, Google has a thing called DeepMind. It is a division of Google. It's called DeepMind, and they've been doing amazing things, and they're trying to come up with computers that can do more than what the old school ones did. For example, if you took $10 million computer that was required to beat Kasparov in chess, that same computer would lose at tic-tac-toe. And that gives you the idea of how artificial intelligence was going down a wrong path. In other words, it's a great computer. When it comes to the things you told it to do, it's great. But when you just tell it to think about simple things it's never heard of before, it just failed.
That's called artificial stupidity.
Okay. Sure. And so now they're looking at things that are like, okay, that paradigm was wrong. We need to come up with an understanding of how the human brain learns. And it all comes down to the human brain because it's the only thing we have to look at. So it's getting scary. And the real scary part is there's two things. There's the algorithms that create the general intelligence we're talking about. And secondly, there are the computing power that run those algorithms. Computing power is going to be tied to what's called quantum computing. Quantum computing is, transistors got smaller and smaller and smaller. And at the beginning, the computers were the size of your living room. Then they became down to your desktop. Now they're in our hands like this. Quantum computers shrinks these circuits down to the atomic level, okay? And it allows for processing that you can't even fathom. And again, people think, well, these quantum computers are several years off, correct? And the answer to that is no, they're not.
It'll unbelievably scary, all this shit.
It is, but it's not as scary as artificial intelligence. Who's the smartest person you know besides me?
I knew that was Kevin.
Living or dead. Put Einstein up here. Put a chicken down here. Where are you on that curve? Let's put you a little bit below Einstein. Okay?
Thank you.
You're quite smarter than me. Okay. Now, take you and Einstein, move you right next to the chicken, increase that graph to something we can't even understand, and that is artificial intelligence.
Wait a minute. Is it just able to store information and access it quickly? Or is it able to understand and beyond, math calculations, to figure out, I don't know, what can it do? What can it do? Besides beat a guy in chess.
Yeah, the answer is, you're right. Good question. So they're already doing this with engineering. So some people think, well, what's a good job that AI and robots won't take over? And people think like doctors or engineers. Well, when it comes to engineering, you put the parameters in of you want, let's say, a motorcycle frame. I want this motorcycle frame to be lightweight. I want it to be cost effective. I want it to be so many dimensions. It has to have so much strength. It has to connect these engine bits. You would give that task to an engineer, and he would think of 4, 5, maybe 10 options as he's figuring it out.
And it would take him a long time.
Take him up. So an artificial, and this is not academic. They actually did this, and again, put a link in the blog post. They turned an AI towards this problem, and it thinks of millions of ways to create this motorcycle frame, and it literally, they 3D print what the computer comes up with, and these engineers are blown away. This organic, insanely heretofore unthought of motorcycle frame, the computer designed itself.
Well, that's super scary.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It is.
It's super scary. But what they're going to have to do,
now,
I saw a blurb about this somewhere. It's like, it's going to put human beings out of business, literally. And hopefully there's a silver lining.
Yes.
But let's move on.
Let me finish it off and give me just 2 minutes. So it's already doing things like this motorcycle frame, but it's going to do more. And when quantum computing hits, game over. Now, what's going to happen is, just like the CRISPR technology, there won't be scientists around the world that contain it. And if we don't get ahead of the legislation, there'll be nothing stopping people from creating autonomous creatures that can do anything. So essentially what Sam Harris will tell you is, we will, without even trying to, well, obviously we'll try to, but what will happen is we will create a God. And this God will be able to do anything. And the question is, will he have any need for humans? And so, the way Sam Harris talks about it is, think of ants, okay? Think of ants. You don't hate ants, right? But you wouldn't think twice about killing hundreds of thousands to get them off your picnic, right?
Right.
How are these entities that we create going to view us? And my answer is, we have to become their pet. Because think about it. Your dog, you don't need your dog, but you love your dog. You take care of it. You pick up its shit. Right. We need these, creatures that are created to want us. We need to endear ourselves to them. We essentially need to be their pets, and they will take us all over the universe. It's going to be awesome.
So suck up to the machines. I'm petting my computer right now. Good. Really? You could, boy. Anyway, we should do more on that one next time, but we got to move on.
My secondary camera's back on.
Oh, it was off that whole time?
Yeah, I was charging. I know, but deal with it. It'll just be a picture of you reacting with my... Yeah.
So, I don't want to do a 180 too quick. I don't want to change gears too fast, but because this is some heavy stuff. But why aren't there adult tricycle races?
I think because it's just a stupid idea.
I think it would be cool. I think they should do that. You know what? They probably are.
Now,
somewhere.
little tricycles or adult-sized tricycles?
You'd have to be able to make it so they could fit on it. Yeah. Any size you want, but a tricycle. You just go to a high school track, you know,
right?
And you have 8 people just like zipping around as fast as they can on a tricycle. It's hilarious. I'm gonna do it.
Oh, I don't get it, but okay.
You got anything else?
Let's see. Well, the Oscars was Sunday. Did you watch that? Do you care about Oscars anymore?
Not really. I watched a little bit of it. I watched Shallow.
I hate that song, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say I hate it, but it is not Oscar worthy. I don't like the song.
Well,
I don't know what you think.
You know, I'd heard it before a couple times, and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit cringeworthy to see Bradley Cooper up there, you know, put himself on the line. I mean, he was close to hitting a couple.
He was
in the beginning.
awful.
Are you happy in this modern world?
He was awful. Come on.
The problem with him is he tries so hard to sing with passion and sing good. You know what I mean?
I haven't never seen the movie. I'm not a huge Bradley Cooper fan nor Lady Gaga fan. I'm just, he was awful. It was laughable. Now, granted, he's an actor and he's not supposed to be able to sing.
Worse.
But hold on.
Yeah.
Barbra Streisand could sing and act. There are people that can do this.
Yeah,
he's not one of them.
No, there's a lot of people that Chris Christopherson. I mean, there's tons of them.
Yeah,
Luke Evans is a great singer. There's tons of people, but
he's not one of them.
No, he's not one of them. Look, he's okay. He's okay. But, you know, I'm okay as a singer. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to see me up there going, shit.
Yeah. I think he's better as a drunk. But that's just me.
Drunk?
Hungover drunk. You know, from the Hangover series.
Oh, yeah. No, he's best at?
That's Bradley Cooper's sweet spot. What?
His sweet spot is that jackass guy in Wedding Crashers, the first time I ever saw him.
Hut!
Go, Jeremy!
There you go! Hit me! Booyah!
Big tree fall hard, right?
Man down! We got a man down!
I don't know what got into me, Secretary. I do.
5 generations of large family breeding.